most precious name, amen. My message today is, I will leave the light on for you, okay? And I think everybody knows. Anybody know that commercial? What hotel? There you go. So this message came to me a few weeks ago. It was actually during praise and worship here. And as I was worshiping and things like that, this picture came to me in my mind. And the first thing I noticed is obviously it's a light, but it's not very bright. It's just kind of a dim light that isn't shining shining up anything that's around it. And when I saw this picture, the thought came to me was, you're not letting your light shine. Now, is this the message that I want to hear? No. But you see, I knew at that point that unfortunately it was true for me. Tim brought up this verse 2 weeks ago. And what's interesting is just a couple days before I had started working on my message, and this was the first one I was going to use. And when I saw that, I'm like, here we go again. God's tying together messages, which I love that happens in this church. But it says in Matthew 5:14 through 16, you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your God in heaven. And so this verse obviously came to me, when I saw that light, because it's a well-known verse, that we're all somewhat familiar with. And you see, my life up to that point, it wasn't really different than everybody else here. We live in a world right now that's very hectic, right? In my job, just like everywhere else, we have a shortage of people. It puts more loads on other people, more that you have to do. And all of these things are tying together. And then, for my particular job, I'm going in and I'm talking to other people. And, they're telling me their frustrations. And it just starts to get to me. And so what I realized was happening to me while I was worshiping there is that it was affecting my ability to shine. The light within me wasn't shining, mostly because the busyness of life. It was just causing me to get so worked up, so overwhelmed with all the things that were going on in my life, in my career, and outside my career, that picture, this picture of the light, that had become me. And I struggled with that because obviously as a believer, this isn't where I want to be. And when I saw this during that worship service, I could have very easily been like, Lord, you know what I'm doing. You know all the stuff that's going on. You know all the pressures, all the paperwork that I have to do. You know this. I will let my light shine brighter when you unload this stuff. Anybody ever have a thought like that? Wow, you guys, that felt like a condemning laugh almost. But anyways, what I realized though, and this is kind of how I live my life, is when Scripture comes to me, I want to do it. And you see, when I read the Scripture, Matthew chapter 5, where it says, let your light shine, and I know it's not shining, I can't start making excuses. What I do need to do is figure out what needs to change in me. How do I need to change so that this verse becomes me? And so let's start with light, because the topic of light and darkness in the Bible, it's all through it. In John chapter 12, verse 46, Jesus is speaking when he says, I have come into the world as a light, so that no one who believes in me should stay in darkness. So we have this concept where we have light and we have darkness. Light represents, God and goodness and holiness. And the darkness represents the devil and sin and all this stuff that sin has brought this world into. And so Jesus came to bring light. And we read on in John 8:12, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. So this is really the goal. Because Jesus, knowing that we are destined for darkness, came to save us out of the darkness into the light. So how do we get here, though? Because what these verses are saying is, who's the light? Jesus, right? So how do we get from Jesus being the light to Matthew chapter 5, where we're the light? How do we make this connection? And so this led me to is 2 Corinthians 3:18. And we all who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory are being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord who is the Spirit. Now, I looked at a bunch of different translations of the Bible about that word that I underlined in contemplate. All of them in the footnotes have reflect. And I found this interesting. So what happens? Do I have light? Do you have light? No. I cannot produce light within me. I can't do that. But what I can do is through the power of the Holy Spirit reflect the light of Jesus. We read on in 2 Corinthians 4:6. For God, who said, let light shine out of darkness, made his light shine in our hearts to give us the light of the knowledge of God's glory, displayed in the face of Christ. And again, what is this? The light is put within us. And as it's put within us, it shines out. Not because of us. Again, I cannot produce light. You can't produce it. It's like a lantern. We might say a lantern, oh, it's giving light. No, it's not. It's what? Glass and metal or something like that? What's producing light is inside it, and it's shining out of the lantern. This is who we are. This is our position. Not that we can do it, but that we can reflect it. And this is where, when we go back to Matthew chapter 5, where we need to understand that we are reflecting the light of Christ. And so what I really want to look at is how does this apply to you and how does this apply to me? Okay? And really asking that question, are we? When we all look at ourselves, at our walk through our week, if we're all worshiping on a Sunday morning and that picture comes into your mind, what does your light look like? I had to be honest, mine wasn't shining that bright. All the stuff in the world was really starting to get to me. And that's where we need to take this. If we know Jesus is the light, and we know that through the Holy Spirit, he is shining out through us, where we need to understand is that there is a battle. There is a battle to not let that light shine. Let's look at Ephesians 6:12. It says, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Okay? Can this darkness take away our salvation? No. Our salvation is set, sealed in Christ. Okay? For some reason, where I read this week, I'm like, wow, that is a lot. Can you imagine if somebody came to you, I'm just going to, send some rulers, authorities, powers of darkness, and spiritual forces all against you. Are you feeling very comfortable at this point? Is it happening, though? Yes. You see, and that's where we need to understand what is going on in the spiritual world. Your salvation is not up for grabs. Okay? The devil, he can't take it away. He can't do anything about that. You are in Christ. But what he can try to do is overwhelm us so that we get really tied down and bogged down by the stress, the worries, the problems of this world, against the troubles that we face every day, against the pressure to not be different. Anything that the devil can use for any of us in this room, he is going to try to throw at us so that light that Christ wants us to shine out is diminished. Is kind of like, I guess, going back to verse 5 or Matthew chapter 5, that in a way it's let's put this under a bowl. Let's just kind of not let the world see this light that is shining within us. Does the devil know how powerful this light within us is? Absolutely. So he is desperately trying to diminish that light in each one of us. And so again, we're at this point, how effective is he doing that in your life? And I feel like for me, this is something that I want to address every day, right? I want to look at my life every day and think, how bright am I shining? When I go to be with my family, when I go to work, when I do this or when I do that, am I shining for the light of Jesus, or am I letting all these pressures of the world get me down? We read in Galatians chapter 2, 11 through 14. And this is, Galatians is written by Paul, and he tells about a time when he interacts with Cephas, or Peter, the disciple of Jesus. And it says, when Cephas came to Antioch, I opposed him to his face because he stood condemned. For before certain men came from James, he used to eat with the Gentiles. But when they arrived, he began to draw back and separate himself from the Gentiles because he was afraid of those who belonged to the circumcision group. The other Jews joined him in his hypocrisy, so that by their hypocrisy, even Barnabas was led astray. What happened to Peter? The fear of life allowed him to not let that light shine out. But what did that result in? People followed him. You know what's interesting is so often we're like, well, I want to be a witness. I want to shine for Christ. But I can't be that different, can I? Because I need to blend in. So that I need to almost be somebody spoke about a secret agent. I need to be a secret agent. So I kind of get in there and then I'll slowly work on them. I think that's kind of what Peter was trying to do, wasn't it? Maybe a little bit too much. I think we're lying to ourselves. We're not being a secret agent in that moment. We're trying to blend in and we're trying to not let the light shine. There's a huge difference, okay? And so in this instance, he didn't lead them to Christ. He actually led them away. Because Peter allowed the things of this world, those spiritual forces, whatever it is that was tempting him, that was getting into his head to think, oh, I better not let my light shine here. And people followed him. And that's what I want to be careful about in my life is, sorry about that, is how much am I allowing the world to influence me instead of me to influence the world. When I think back to when I was in that worship service, when that picture of the match came to me and all that kind of stuff, what's interesting about that is that I wasn't doing anything wrong that was allowing my light to kind of be diminished. My job, it's literally about helping people, to help kids, to help adults. My job, it's kind of like a good job, so to speak. The things I was into, they weren't bad. It's not like I was off into some sin and getting carried away and stuff like that. I was trying to go from helping this person to getting over here and helping this person. But you know what the problem that it all became is it became a list of tasks instead of a list of opportunities to shine. Everything in my life became a checklist. Oh, I did the meeting, check it off. Oh, I prayed with that person, check it off. Oh, I met with this group, check it off. And it was just a bunch of checks that I was trying to get through every day. And that's what I really want us to really take a step back and look at what is the focus, what is the purpose of our life. And what truly I had done is I had lost my focus. And I needed to get that back. Because the reason I was meeting with those people, the reason I'm connecting and having meetings and doing all the different things that I do is because I need to be a light. But I was doing it because I had a job. And I want to take a step back. And I want to look at my life and see, what do I need to change? And so much of what I think we need to simply change is our focus, our purpose, why we're doing what we're doing. And what's fascinating to me is as I worked all through this in my head, I came to this realization that it's like what I desired was to shine. And so before I even went to work, when I prayed in the morning, my prayer was like, Lord, let me shine. Let me make a difference for you. Do I still have all the paperwork? Yep. We all have too much paperwork, don't we? There's just too much paperwork in this world. I don't even know where all the paper is coming from or where it's going, but there's just too much, right? And it's never going to go away. But it doesn't change my purpose. My purpose is not the paperwork. My purpose is to shine. Your purpose, whatever it is that you do, wherever it is that you go, is to shine. And you will have plenty of things that are going to get in your way, that are going to try to steal your focus and try to get you to worry, try to get you to be too busy, and all of these types of things. But we need to keep our focus. For me, honestly, that's not easy. And I realized every day that I'm going into work, every time I'm walking into building, I realize I need to be praying, Lord, let my light shine. Every time I go into meeting, Lord, let my light shine. Do you want to know what happened? In the last few weeks, I've had so many opportunities to talk to people at work or outside of work about Jesus. And it's like situations where I'm like, were these open before, but I just hadn't noticed? I wasn't taking the time to see these opportunities to share Jesus with these people because my focus was more on, let's get this checked off, instead of, let me shine for Jesus. So as we move forward, I want us to contemplate this question. Do you have a list of tasks that need to be completed, or do you see your day as opportunities to shine for Jesus? You know what's fascinating? Shining for Jesus is way less stressful. Truthfully, it is. And what I found is my days were far more joyful, far more fulfilling when I went into it with a perspective of, I want to share Jesus today. I want to make a difference for him. Let's look at what this shining looks like. In Ephesians 5, 8 through 10, it says, "For you were once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Live as children of light. For the fruit of the light consists in all goodness, righteousness, and truth. And find out what pleases the Lord." So when it talks about the fruit of light, in other words, what's coming out of you? An apple tree. What is the fruit of an apple tree? An apple comes out of the tree. So what comes out of us when we're shining for Christ? Goodness, righteousness, and truth. And I think when we look at this list, just these three things, we look at like, well, goodness, truth. I got those. I feel comfortable with those. But then when we get to righteousness, it's like, ooh, righteousness, that's a big one. And for me personally, I can see where people can start to like squirm a little bit. Because when we're talking about in order to shine, we need to be righteous. It's like, well, I'm not going to fit in if I'm righteous, am I? No, you're not. You will not fit in. And I think that's a mindset as Christians that we need to embrace. We are not called to fit in. Amen. We are called to stand out. And we need to be ready to take that step and be like, I'm ready to be different. I'm ready for people at work to think, that person's different. It may be crazy, but they're different. But they are going to see you. That's the point. How can you be a light if you're blending in? We talked about how this world is light and darkness. And we have this light that's supposed to be shining out of us in the darkness. So we need to be standing out for people to see us so that we can, going back to verse Matthew chapter 5, for what purpose? To bring glory to God. It's not that people see me. There's no point in that. It's that through me, people will see Jesus. And that's what we're shooting for. Philippians 2:15, it says, then you will shine among them like stars in the sky. And I thought that's interesting because it's then. It's kind of like one of those if-then type statements. If you do this, then you will do this. Well, we know the end result. Then you will shine among them like stars. So let's take a look at what do we do in order to get to this point where we shine like stars in the sky. Earlier in Philippians chapter 2, this is like a powerful chapter. And so I want to go through a lot of verses here, but kind of like bear with me. Starting in verse 3, it says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. And as I'm reading this, kind of think to yourself, this is what it means to shine in this world. So this is what we need to be striving for, okay? Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant. Being made in human likeness and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. So jumping to verse 14, do everything without grumbling or arguing, so that you may become blameless and pure, children of God without fault in a warped and crooked generation. Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky. That's a powerful verse. It's a huge calling. But ultimately, what it's telling us, in order to shine, what shining looks like, like if I am shining for Christ, this is what I'm going to look like to the world. I'm going to be putting others above myself. My needs are not more important than other people's needs. What I want to say is not more important than what other people might want to say, unless I'm speaking about Jesus. Number 2, live in humility. Number 3, be a servant. 4, don't grumble or argue, but be blameless and pure. I think this is big because we're living in a society that is very much valuing arguing, and confrontation, okay? That's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be blameless. We're supposed to be pure. This is what it looks like when we are shining for Jesus. This is not easy. I am not saying at the end of the day, I look at this and I'm like, awesome, I did them all perfect today. No, never, okay? I will never do one of them probably really well, okay? But for me, I at least want to know what I'm striving for. What am I shooting for when I shine? What is my goal? And this is the list that I'm shooting for. Another thing that I just like to this is a phrase that I think of often is love God, love others, live a life to bring glory to God. Do you know what's missing in this phrase? Me. I'm not in this phrase. My purpose and my focus is not myself. It's love God, love others, and make sure that my life is bringing glory to God. That's what I want to strive for. And when I shine for Jesus, that's my goal. That's what I'm trying to seek after. So I was telling you about kind of like this transformation, like how I was just living in more joy. And I'll tell you about this past Thursday, okay? Past this Thursday morning, I was very happy, okay? I had just actually, Cal had called me, okay? And he had asked me to call him to pray for him. I'm going to be honest with you. As I was praying for him, it's hard to describe. I was just so happy. Because honestly, I was like, this is awesome. Like God is bringing me people to pray for, to talk to about him. It's like I was honestly living on cloud 9, okay? Everything was just going so well. I honestly, I loved it. And literally, as I'm praying for Cal, I get a message that somebody wants to talk with me, okay? I'm like, look it, the Lord's bringing them out of the woodwork. I'm like, more people to pray for. And for me, I think because I was in that position like a month ago where I was just felt so overwhelmed, like I just felt so free. I felt so like, good, happy. Then I'm talking to this person, and it's going well in my mind. They're dealing with some different things, and I feel like I'm like, sharing with them some of the things that they can do and helping them out. And as we're getting to the end of this discussion, bam! They make a statement that just knocked me down. And like in my mind, I don't know. Like, I guess it was like a sucker punch, so to speak. It was just out of the blue. I didn't even see it coming. During our discussion, I was like, this is going well. I felt like I think I'm really like helping them get to a better place. And then they said something to me that was just like hurtful and just unnecessary. And when you're at like that place where you're just like everything is going well, and then something just comes along and hits you, that's tough, isn't it? And as I was trying to work through this picture came to my mind. All the way back to that dim light. And as I was like praying through this situation, I kept picturing this light. And the thought that came to me, I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back to that dim light. I was so happy, having opportunities to tell people about Jesus, praying with people, and just feeling like, I guess my purpose like made sense in my life. I didn't want to go back to that feeling of like, I can't do it all. It's too much. You're going to try and just get knocked down. All of those thoughts kind of like kept like kind of bombarding me. And I'm sure that you guys in your life have similar things where you feel like, life can be going well, or you're really trying and you feel like you're making those steps. But you know what? Remember all of those spiritual forces that are coming against us? They know your weaknesses. And they know my weaknesses. And that's where they're going to like, at some point, just come in and knock you down. Or try to knock you down. But you see, we have a choice. And what I kept praying, and I kept seeking after is, Lord, I don't want to get knocked down. I want to stay standing. I want to be strong. I want to keep my purpose and my focus on being a light for Jesus. It's not easy. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I'm literally, before I came up here, I literally turned to Rachel and I'm like, boy, it's hard to not think about it, Because when people come against you or hurt you or things like, it's hard to just let it go and be like, I'm going to just keep walking with the Lord. But I do think that's what Christ wants us to do because he did. Can you imagine? You're like let's say I'm up here actually speaking to you, and my lovely parents come through the door and be like, he's crazy. We're going to take him home. Ouch. But that's what happened to Jesus, isn't it? He's like healing people, telling people about God. We need to take him home. He's crazy. But what did he do? What was his response? Did he be like, oh, this is hard? No. He kept on going, didn't he? Because he is the light of the world. And he knew it. And you know what? That light is living in me. And I want to keep shining. I don't want to go back to that dim light that is struggling by being overwhelmed and just knocked down. In 1 Peter 2:9, it says, you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. You see, we have a purpose. So often, I think one of the things that people struggle with in this day and age is purpose. I hear that a lot. Like what's my purpose? And so often we run from this thing to that thing to try to feel like filled up or feel like our purpose is being met and stuff like that. You have a purpose. It's just honestly very simple. Shine. Wherever you're at, shine. Like, let the light of Christ shine out of you. It may not be in the place that you want to be at that moment. Still shine. That's your purpose. You know, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, your purpose never will change. Because my purpose will never be paperwork. Yes, I need to do it. Yeah, and do it well. But it's not who I am and why I'm waking up in the morning and doing this or that. In 2 Kings 7:9, we have this interesting story about 4 leprous men who were in Jerusalem at that time. Now, Jerusalem had been under siege by the Arameans for quite a time, to the point where people were starving in Jerusalem. And so these 4 leprous men, they kind of decide among themselves, you know what? If we sit here, we're going to die. We're going to starve to death. We might as well at least take a shot, go to the Aramean camp. Maybe they'll let us live. Give us some food, you know. If they kill us, that's the same thing that's going to happen here. So they head off. They're going to the Aramean camp. When they get there, they find it empty. Nobody's there. And what had happened is the Lord had caused the Arameans in the middle of the night to think that they heard like horse hooves and an army coming. And they thought to themselves, oh no, you know, the Egyptians are coming and they're going to fight against us. So they fled, literally leaving everything behind. So these 4 leprous men, they like find the jackpot, you know, and they're like, let's eat, you know, let's fill our stomachs and get the things that we need. And this verse, I think, is very powerful. In 2 Kings 7:9, it says, then they said to each other, what we're doing is not right. This is a day of good news, and we are keeping it to ourselves. If we wait until daylight, punishment will overtake us. Let's go at once and report this to the royal palace. Today, right now, is a day of good news. Amen. And you know what? We have it. We have the good news. We're the ones that know the way. We're the ones that know what Jesus has done in our lives. We're the ones that can look at people in this world, in this dark world, and say, I know what you need. We can't keep it to ourselves. We can't. We can't go into our places of work or into our neighborhoods and think, you know what? I just want to blend in. I just want to not be noticed. You're keeping it to yourself. This amazing news that you know. You were literally headed to hell. And Jesus, by his amazing grace, saved you. You know this. It's good news. Today is a day of good news, and you have it. Share it. Let this world see it. Shine. Let Jesus shine through you so that this world can realize that there is hope. There are a lot of people out there that do not have hope. They think that today was a terrible day, tomorrow will be a terrible day, and next year will be a terrible year. They don't have hope, but you have it. Don't be like these leprous men who are come to their realization. We need to tell them. We need to share it and not keep it to ourselves. You have the news that is needed by this world. Don't keep it to yourself. Let people know it. One thing I thought about, and I know it's a debated topic, but I think it just it fits well in what I'm saying. It's regarding Halloween trick-or-treating. And I know there's a lot of people that don't believe in trick-or-treating, which that's great. I have wherever you're at, that's not the point that I want to make. The point that I want to make about trick-or-treating is, which houses do the kids go to? But the ones that have the light on, right? Would they go to the house that has darkness or the house that has light? And I think that's just a good picture of who we need to be. And I think that's what I found in my job. When I stopped lamenting over the difficulties and how much I had to do and all this other stuff, when I started more focusing on like, how's your day going? I mean, like actually caring and actually listening and actually like being a light, I think people realized, well, I want to talk to him. You know, we need to come to that point where it's like we are a light that's drawing people. And I know that there's a lot of people that are going to hate the fact that you're shining and maybe say things or do things that are very mean. That's okay. You just keep shining because there's a lot of people that are searching for what you have. And we need to be in a position where we're ready to give it. One thing, I was listening to this message a while back, and he made the comment that like every day 150,000 people are dying. That kind of like shocked me. You know, so I went and I searched it up. I'm like, is this true? And as in my search of this, I came to this like constant world tracking like ticker type thing. And one of the things is like it kept track of is like how often people die in the world. And I know this is kind of morbid. Sorry if you think I'm weird, but hey, I'm going to let my light shine anyways. But anyways, I kept looking at this on my computer screen, and it was just like click, 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 click. And I couldn't help myself wondering, click, did that person go to heaven or hell? Click, did that person go to heaven or hell? Click, click, click. We can't lose our focus. We have a purpose to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. And not that pressure is on me or you to like save people. That's not my point in sharing that. The point that I want to make is don't lose sight of your purpose. Let your light shine. I remember I just recently read the story of the first street light. And it's an interesting story about Benjamin Franklin. And there's some debate whether it's Benjamin Franklin or actually his neighbor. But basically, the person had an idea to light up the street. But they didn't tell their neighbors. They had a different idea. Instead, what they did is they simply put a light, and the story I read was Benjamin Franklin put a light outside of his house. And every day he would like polish the glass, make sure it was like clean and producing light. And you know what happened? People liked it. I mean, it's not a complicated story, but people liked it. And you know what they did? Put a light outside their house. Next thing you know, we have a whole street that's lit up. That's pretty much what we need to do. You know, the title of this message was, I'll keep a light on for you. I want to keep a light on for everybody out there in this dark world that needs it. I want Christ to shine through me. You know, we go back to this Matthew chapter 5, 14 through 16. In the same way, in verse 16, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. This is who we need to be. And what I want to challenge everybody is to seek after this. You know, kind of, in all honesty, that same realization that I had like 3 weeks ago is what I want you to have today. To realize that like you don't need to be like overwhelmed by this world. That's all of that, like that battle against you, those spiritual forces, that darkness, that's their goal. You know, our battle is not against flesh and blood. It's against the spiritual powers that are trying to come against us to overwhelm us. Again, not to take away our salvation. You're not losing your salvation by them, but they're going to try to make you not shine, to stifle our witness, to make us think that we don't have this amazing news that this world needs to know. We can't let that happen. And what I'm hoping is that all of you will will leave here with this like newfound like desire to pray tomorrow morning, Lord, let me shine. Don't let me get overwhelmed by all the different things that are going to come upon me today. But help me to keep my focus on shining, on being who you want me to be. In Acts 4:13, this is speaking of Peter and John, and it says, when they saw the courage of Peter and John and realized that they were unschooled, ordinary men, they were astonished that they took note that these men had been with Jesus. Honestly, that's what I want people to say about me tomorrow. Like, he's different. And I want to say, yeah, it's because I've been with Jesus. You know, when I got up in the morning, I sought after Jesus. You know, I try in my life, as soon as like, even before my eyes are open, as soon as I'm like conscious in the morning, I simply try to say like, good morning, Jesus. Because I want him like my first thought to be like, I'm in it. You know, I need you. We're doing this together. And I want people to realize like there's something different about me. Not because of anything about who I am or what I can do, but simply because the light of Christ is shining out from me. Amen. And I want that light to shine bright. And I want all of you here to have that same desire, to shine bright. And I know that we can, because that's what Christ desperately wants to do in each one of us, to shine out from us. You know, for us to simply lay our life down and say, Lord, shine. Let's pray. Lord, I just thank you for the opportunity to be used by you. Lord, none of us are worthy of that or capable of it. But Lord, what I know is that you desire to use us. Lord, I just pray that everybody here would go forth this week. And Lord, that we would truly have a different focus, a newfound purpose to not complete a list of tasks this week, but Lord, to shine for you, to let your light shine out of us, Lord. And I just pray that we would reflect you so that people would glorify God. And Lord, we just pray this in your most powerful and holy name. Amen. If you need prayer, please come up. We're always open and desiring to pray with you. Otherwise, I pray that all of you will have a great week. Be blessed.